Hi, this is Kent. This is lesson one of a pair of lessons where I'm talking about a system for what's called rootless chord voicings for your left hand. The rootless means I'm leaving out the root of the chord when I play this chord with my left hand. An example of a rootless chord voicing might be, let's say I have D minor 7. If I were going to play it rootless, I might do something like this. If I just had only the notes of D minor 7 minus the root, there's the root down here, and I'm playing it in a rootless way here. It looks like F major, which if I had a F in the root, then it would be F major. But what I'm doing is I'm playing the top three notes of this of this minor 7 chord here, and I'd be relying either on the bass player or some other bass instrument to cover the root. If I were playing solo piano, I could still use this rootless voicing, and I would have to either just sometimes let that hang and imply the chord, or I could play the rootless part and then follow it with the root, or I could hit the root first, play the rootless part here. So the rootless voicing idea generally applies to a piano player working with someone who's covering the bass. But you can use these rootless voicings in a lot of different ways when you're playing solo piano as well. The way that I'm going to approach this system in this first lesson is I'm going to do a 2-5-1 progression, showing you how these chords will be voiced in this particular way. We're going to use 2-5-1 in the key of C major. So the 2 chord in a jazz setting in C major would generally be a 2 minor 7 chord. So in the case of C major, I have D minor 7 for the 2 chord. Now, if I go up to the 5 chord, I would be using some type of a dominant 7th. This is a straight dominant 7th on G in root position. And the 1 chord would be C major 7 in a jazz context. In jazz, we almost always work with 7th chords and also extensions of those chords where we add other notes on top. But the fundamental core of the chord, the basis of the chord, is going to be a 7th chord of some type. So in our 2-5-1 in C, again, is D minor 7, followed by a G7, and then a C major 7. And I'm playing those with my right hand, and I'm playing them in root position. So here is our system for voicing these 2-5-1s, and this is what I call type A. In the second lesson, I'll be showing you type B, and the only difference is the way the notes are arranged. For the 2 chord, 2 minor 7, we're going to be including a 9th. Here's a D minor 9. I have this extra note here, which is a 9th. For the 5 chord, I'm actually going to be using a G13 chord. If I played that in root position spread out, there's the dominant part, the core of the chord. Here's my 9th. I'm leaving out the 11th, and I'd be playing the 13 like that if I were just spreading the notes out from the root and going up. Here's my rootless type A for the minor 7th chord, in this case D minor 7. Here's the root. The type A, I start with the 3rd, I go to the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th. Now that one looks like F major 7, and if I had the F, it would certainly be F major 7 if I had the F in the bass there as the root. But with the D in the bass, it changes the sound quite a bit, even though same top part, but now I have turning that into a minor 9 chord. So when we're doing a 2-5-1 in the type A approach, I have 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th for my 2 chord. Now when I go to the 5 chord, all I have to do is change one note, this guy, and I bring it down here. There's my rootless G7 chord. It includes a 9th, and it includes a 13th. In most situations in a jazz setting, if you see a dominant 7th chord, you can feel free to make it a 13th chord like this. And if you need to alter it, you can say, let's say I want to take the 9 and flatten it. Or if I wanted to take the 6 and flatten it, I could go like that. Okay, so it's based on this shape though. Here's the 9th, here's the 13th. So if I want to flat that 13th, or call it the 6th, I could go like that. Okay, so generally this would be called the flat 13th. It's the 6th step of the, if I start on G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6th step of the scale, but because it's spread out like this, I'm calling that the 13th. So when we're playing down here in the rootless version, we're kind of crunching notes all together. Instead of going, we're going like that for the regular 13. There's a 13 flat 9. There's a flat 9 with a flat 13. For now, you want to work with just a straight 13 chord here. So back to the 2 chord, I've got this for the D minor 9th. So when I see a D minor 7th, I could typically use this. When I see a G7, I could typically just move this note down to here. And so we've got our 2-5 going on right there, okay? Let's use E flat. Now, the display that I have, that I'm using here on my computer, this software, you're going to see that this is being called F sharp, that's being called B flat, and this is being called C sharp. But I'm going to name these notes. In the case of E flat, we're really going to have G flat, B flat, D flat, and F. There's really no way I have around the way this particular display software is working. I can't really have it always be accurate with sharp and flat. F sharp is the same as G flat in terms of they share the same name, but it depends on the context that what key you're in. So if I just confuse the heck out of you, sorry about that. But so we're on E flat. E flat minor 7th would normally be this. So E flat, G flat, B flat, D flat. My 9th would be here. So my type A voicing for the E flat minor 7, including a 9th, would be that. Now I'm going to do the same thing now if I go from the 2 chord. In this case, E flat is the 2 of the key of D flat. So here's my 2 chord played in the type A shape. I just take this note and bring it down 1/2 step. That gives me my 13th chord. For the 5. Okay, so we got 2, 5, 1, which is normally, there's the regular voicing, root position voicing of the 2 chord in the key of D flat. But I'm going to play this type A rootless voicing. Now when I want to go to the 5 chord, there's the 5, A flat, I would go from here, that's my 2 chord, and I just bring this guy down to here. Alright, so that's the same principle I just did in the key of C. Last thing we have left is how we're going to voice that 1 chord in a rootless way. Back to C, we're going to do our 1 chords like this. Here's C, C major 7 is that. We're going to do a different type of thing here, which is actually a C6-9 chord. I've got a 6, and I have a 9th, and I have my 3rd. That's how I'm going to voice rootless on the 1 chord in the type A system. So here's the 2, it's D minor, 9th. Here's the 5, which is our G13 rootless. Finally, you go down to C, like that. There's my 2-5-1 in the key of C, using the type A system. Let me go up to E flat again. Well, not the key of E flat, but the key of D flat. And I'm going to use the 2 chord. There's my 2 chord. I'm going to voice it like this. Here's the root. That's E flat minor, 7th with a 9th. Again, the actual note names, contrary to my display, are G flat, B flat, G flat, and F. I go down to my 5. That's an A flat 13 chord. Now when I go down to the 1 chord, which is D flat, I'm going to do it like this. Alright, so that's my D flat 6-9. Okay, so here's the 9th, and here's the 6th. An alternative in this case, let's go back to C. If I went like this, here's my 2 chord, here's my 5 chord. I could do something like this, an alternative voicing, if I wanted to include the 7th on the C, major 7. Something like that. Or I could maybe do like, or even root position like that. But a nice smooth voice leading results if I go 2 chord, 5 chord, and then the 6-9. Alright, now let me just run through what the component notes are of these voicings. In the 2 chord, D minor, I've got the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th, just like that. In the 5 chord, I've got the 7th, the 9th, the 3rd, and the 13th. It could be called a 6th, kind of, but because it's based on a spread out 13, I'm calling it the 13th here. There's my 13. So 7, 9, 3, 13. Finally, when I go to the 1 chord, I've got the 3rd, the 5th, the 6th, and the 9th. That's a C6-9. Okay, so that is type A. In the next lesson, I'm going to be talking about type B, where we're doing a 2-5-1. I'll go through it in the key of C and in the key of D flat, like I did here. It's just a different way of arranging those rootless voicings. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next lesson.